Hello, beautiful light skinned ladies. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about colorism channels, what's working for them, what's not working for them. I don't know about you, but have you noticed that a lot of the colorism channels, for the majority, they're not even really talking about colorism? Yeah, I noticed that as well, especially with the constant beefs going on, going back and forth. So this is just my analysis of what colorism channels are doing right now that is hurting them and hurting everyone else, and what they should do instead. And honestly, any channel can benefit from this. It is going to be specific to the topic of colorism and color discrimination, but this goes for, anyone who has like an exotical channel. Avoiding some of the things that the colorism channels are doing can help to protect your success as a YouTuber and get a strong, solid foundation when you first get started, and make sure that it stays that way, that you protect and enforce your boundaries and your channel's mission. First thing I see the colorism channels doing is minimizing the color discrimination that light skin and mixed women experience in our families, in the workplace, and in the schoolhouse. So anytime you hear, a colorism channel basically saying that light skinned women don't experience colorism, or that dark skinned women have it worse than light skinned women. The issue with that is not that they're incorrect or that they're wrong or that they're lying, but the issue is that they aren't light skinned Black women. So it's wrong for them to speak for us. So, especially in a way to minimize what our experiences have been with being discriminated against, both within the community and without, on the basis of our skin tone. So, yeah, when you try to minimize someone else's experience, that can go against you. Anytime you minimize someone else's experience, it does affect your channel's success. Okay. And it does affect your channel's brand as well. Maybe you'll still be successful, but you're not going to have the positive impact or a positive brand. And if that's not something that matters to you, then that's fine. The next thing I see colorism channels doing is maximizing colorism that dark skinned Black women face in romantic relationships specifically and in the dating market specifically. So, while there are probably so many instances of colorism against dark skinned Black women in the workplace and in the schoolhouse, and in other aspects of life or institutions of life, most of the rhetoric surrounding colorism is all about what a man didn't like, what a man prefers, how hard it is to date. And these are important issues as well, but it's just very it gets very exhausting when we're only talking about colorism from that perspective. Yeah, there's so much more to talk about when it comes to colorism, and there's so many other resources that are out there to help us understand and identify colorism in every aspect of life, within our families, within the workplace, and the schoolhouse. Remember, those for me, those are the big three, and we'll get into those resources a little bit later. But notice how a lot of the colorism channels really want to talk about, um, getting attention from men, or not getting attention from men, or not being seen as desirable, or desirable enough, or not being seen as feminine enough. And these are all valid points that have been made, and they are important. However, that should not be what's highlighted in this colorism discussion, because there's so much. I personally would like to see more Black women speak out about colorism that they experience in the workplace when dealing with other Black coworkers, right? Because colorism has to do with what's happening within your same community. Okay. Third thing I see is a pattern, a habit of lashing out at other content creators who are light skinned or are mixed and happen to also uplift their phenotype. Notice no one is bashing non-Black Latina women or white women for celebrating their phenotype on YouTube or celebrating their admixtures or for celebrating their heritage. No one is bashing them for that. So this is a humbling tactic that is being reserved only for women who are Black or are Black adjacent, meaning mixed with Black, and also happen to have light skin or a looser hair texture or something like that. So it's this entitlement, the entitlement that they feel towards other Black women who don't have dark skin. That, oh, you know what? You're Black. You're still Black, so you don't get to uplift this aspect of yourself. You don't get to praise your admixture. You don't get to praise your light skin, all of this stuff because it's anti-Black. I would love to see how that would play out if, one of these content creators were to say that to a non-Black Latina content creator who was, basically bragging about her hair or bragging about her skin tone, which a lot of non-Black Latinas, at least in my area, do. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I feel that once someone realizes that, oh, this person is mixed with Black, or oh, this person is an actual Black woman, that's when they feel, the inferiority complex kind of come out a little bit, and they want to um, basically stop that other Black woman or mixed woman from uplifting her phenotype because they feel that we owe everything to them. We owe everything to dark-skinned Black women, and that we shouldn't be uplifting ourselves. Instead, we shouldn't say anything positive about ourselves and should solely uplift dark-skinned Black women. And just to make something clear, I uplift all Black women. Now, this channel is specifically for light-skinned Black women that, like I said, but in my life and in my personal life, and even on here on YouTube, like in the comments or whatever, you will never see me saying something negative about a dark skinned Black woman's features or looks. And I have in behind closed doors, even and in private spaces here on this internet space. In private spaces, I have stood up for unambiguous dark-skinned Black women. So I'm definitely not saying that we need to pick a side, but what I'm saying is notice how, it's okay for every other type of woman to uplift their phenotype, but if you're a light-skinned Black woman or if you're a light-skinned mixed woman, then suddenly it's not okay. And then also, I see colorism channels lashing out at creators for pointing out hypocrisies. Hypocrisies such as degrading light-skinned Black women for having African features, or even men. Like I did a video about Kendall Weaver, who's the basketball player who was dragged for having African features, while at the same time uplifting dark-skinned Black women or dark-skinned Black people with those same African features. So it is very hypocritical. Like, do you just dislike African features? What is the problem? Or is it that you just dislike light skin? Which is it? Because it's a lose-lose situation. You either have to admit that you completely dislike light skin, or you have to admit that you dislike African features. To say that you don't like the two of them together is also extremely colorist and racist because there are people who look like that, who have light skin and have African features because they are Black or because they are mixed. So saying that you don't like those two things together and you think that they're ugly is very hateful and colorist. Now, when it comes to dating and who you want to, date or procreate with, that's your personal business. That's not something for you to parade around and say, these people are so ugly and that's why I will never procreate with them because I think they just look ugly, or I think this awful thing about them. That's when that becomes a form of hate speech. I also noticed that colorism channels are lashing out at other creators who talk about their experiences with skin tone and color discrimination within their families, in the workplace, and in the schoolhouse. Yeah, and I see this a lot, usually in the form of like that girl Nika Marina. No, the F you didn't experience this, or, um, you know, you don't experience colorism, you experience bullying. So I guess there's no way a light-skinned Black girl can be targeted by child molesters and silenced by the Black adults in her community because they think that light-skinned Black girls are liars and hussies. I guess there's no way that light-skinned Black women have to work every day in a hostile work environment because the workplace is predominantly Black people who have stigmas about light-skinned Black women. And I guess there's no way that the high school bully beating up on the light-skinned girl every day is actually making the school liable for violating that light-skinned girl's civil rights. Yeah, I guess there's no way that that could ever happen. And lastly, colorism channels are centering male talking points and ways of thinking. There is so much focus on who's prettier, who isn't pretty, who's prettier to Black men and why, who's prettier to white men and why. There's so much talk about that. I mean, we just had the trend of, um, you know, this white man having to basically say, "Hey, I didn't say that," because this journalist misconstrued his words and ran with it, saying that white men prefer Black wives and that he said that Black wives are for grown-ups when he did not say that. Um, there's just so much focus on the male gaze. Now, beauty is something that we as women, we do get to define. So for all of you exotical channels out there who are making, subliminals or affirmation videos or videos about pretty privilege, there's nothing wrong with that because at the end of the day, pretty privilege and beauty, that's kind of like women's domain, right? But if you were to listen to colorism channels, you would see how they use beauty and pretty privilege to excuse me, to basically uphold and perpetuate the same talking points of the male gaze, the same patriarchal talking points that a woman's worth is defined by, you know, what a man thinks of her. And we don't do that. I have yet to see an exotical girly make a video about how, women are prettier if they can get the attention of a white man. And there are so many colorism and divestment channels that have made that same talking point. Yeah, so many. And then if it's not focusing on the male gaze, then it's focusing on the patriarchal idea that women have to compete with each other, to get picked or to get prizes or to get, I don't know. Because you see how far removed this is now from colorism? Because colorism is about prejudice against another person on the basis of their skin tone, typically within the same community. So what does this have to do with women competing with each other than the common denominator being there has to be someone that's treating these women differently? And that's who these content creators should be lashing out at, not the other women in their same community. No, women don't need to compete with each other. Instead, we need to come together and basically shut down colorist talking points, shut down, these divisive colorist and sexist talking points that men have perpetuated in order to pit us against each other. But no one's going to do that, right? Because everyone in the colorism channel specter or sector thinks that light skinned and mixed women are out to get dark skinned Black women, are out um, to traumatize dark skinned Black women when there's no one over here who's celebrating a dark skinned Black woman getting abused by a dark skinned Black man. Like, we're not celebrating that. Or we're in another example, maybe a better example. We're not celebrating, Black women getting unalived by their white boyfriends or white husbands. We're not celebrating that like, "Ha ha, look what you got, divester." No, we're not celebrating that. We're comfortable with calling out hypocrisies, but we're not going to, do the whole same black man rhetoric that a lot of colorism channels do. And people can say, "Oh no, I wasn't celebrating this," but I mean, you kind of were, and we've got the we've got the receipts. But that's not what this video is about. Anyways, moving forward, this is what I think colorism channels should do instead, okay? So I just want to take a break to say that colorism is a very deeply rooted issue, and it's going to affect individuals differently based on their skin tone. I like to say that light-skinned Black women experience skin tone discrimination because that's the phrasing that the United States government uses, and the United States government understands that it can affect anyone. And discussions about colorism really do have to be handled with sensitivity and inclusivity. The critiques that I just went through kind of give us a way to consider a more constructive approach to this type of topic. Okay, so here are some ways that colorism channels can improve their discourse. So, one, they need to be open minded enough to handle and get through an inclusive narrative. Instead of minimizing the experiences of any one group, colorism channels really do need to acknowledge the full spectrum of color discrimination. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to create videos that are all about, what light-skinned Black women experience and what dark-skinned Black women experience. If you want to do that, go right ahead. I do personally believe that the best way to do this is to first recognize that there are unique challenges faced by both light-skinned and dark-skinned Black individuals, and to demonstrate, excuse me, and to demonstrate what those unique challenges are by first making content about what is most relatable to you. So for me, I am a light skinned Black woman, so it's easier for me to make content about the unique challenges that we as light skinned Black women face when it comes to skin tone and color discrimination. That doesn't mean that I don't understand or that I don't acknowledge colorism that dark skinned Black women experience. In fact, I actually watch a lot of those videos, but colorism affects people across the skin tone spectrum in distinct ways. Um, Another example that I've heard is how, Black women are portrayed as masculine in the media, especially darker skinned Black women. And I definitely see that. That's not something that I'm ever going to deny or negate. But discussions about this really need to reflect the complexity of it, because I'm also not going to completely disregard, the challenges that we face as light-skinned Black women when it comes to color discrimination. And so getting into resources that could help colorism channels develop like that open mind for inclusive narratives is this book called The Color Complex. Let me see if I can pull it up again. I was supposed to have the title ready. Okay, yeah. So it's called The Color Complex. And what I love about this book is that it is written by one light-skinned Black woman, one dark-skinned Black woman, and one Black man. I'm not sure. I think his name is Ronald Hall. Um, I haven't really seen a picture of him yet. But they have an amazing book. I've heard amazing reviews from both light skinned Black people and dark skinned Black people about this book. And so I highly recommend anyone in the colorism channel who actually cares about colorism and isn't just trying to make clapback content, isn't just trying to make content that mimics the dynamics of that Spike Lee Good Hair Bad Hair movie. Yeah, get this book, and it can help you try to find a path to incorporate solutions into your content. Okay. But yeah, I think that colorism channels really do need to be open to diverse stories and need to at least listen to voices from a broad range of experiences within the Black community. Um, you can subscribe to my channel, subscribe to Shades of Resilience. Um, there are so many of us out here sharing our experiences. You can subscribe to what is her name, Brule. Oh, girl, I'm so sorry if I got it wrong. I think it's Brule. I'll show it on the screen if I can. But yeah, you can subscribe to them and listen to their stories, listen to our stories. But you can also use the power that you have as a colorism channel to conduct interviews or guest features so that you can expose yourself and expose your audience to a broad range of experiences and other voices. And maybe you will build some empathy skills that way. Maybe. A good example of this would have been the Light Girls, Dark Girls Oprah documentaries. I think the only misstep with that is making it two separate documentaries with a media outlet that large with that much influence. I really would have focused on bringing it all together in one presentation so that people would not be able to pick and choose exactly what they're going to listen to and would be forced to kind of listen to both sides just because she had that power to do that. But I understand respecting people's, traumas and where they're at. But I don't know. It's hard to tell if those two documentaries and the way that it was presented really helped us because it seemed like it just created more division in the sense that I saw people really trying to gaslight the light girls like Raven Simone in that documentary. Another engaging with this type of material and these type of resources, we can open our minds to be able to accept others' experiences, even if they don't match our own. And I think getting accustomed to that exposure, building that thick skin, even though that's not your experience, or if your experience was the exact opposite of that, at least you have the capability to hear. And that is actually the one of the ultimate elements of compassion for other people is to be able to approach them without any judgment, non-judgment. Of course, if you're someone who's very like Machiavellian, or if you have very little empathy, or if you have very low self-compassion, none of this will make sense to you. Okay, so moving on, I think colorism channels should also encourage positive self affirmation for their viewers. So instead of lashing out at individuals for celebrating their appearance and their phenotype, channels should celebrate themselves so that they can uplift others. Right. So this looks like encouraging viewers to appreciate and celebrate their natural beauty, everything about them. You can do this through positive representation, like creating a magazine or creating corrective promotion or creating affirmations like how I made affirmations for light skinned Black women. And I got you, light skinned ladies, my pretty girl affirmations are coming up, okay? But yeah, you really want to create some content that highlights the beauty of yourself and your viewers so that they can, once they are ready, to uplift others, they are able to do it from a place of security and not from a place of insecurity or self-denigration. Okay. The next thing I think that colorism channels should do is educate on historical context in this topic of colorism. So provide viewers with the historical and cultural context so that they can understand the roots of colorism. When I saw that clip of Tyra Banks talking about 200 years ago, I thought that that was a gross misuse of justice as well as it was just very, ugly what the way that she presented it. Yes, provide viewers with historical context, but not by using a blanket statement saying, "Oh, well, it's been this way for 500 years," or "This was happening 200 years ago," or "The only way you look like this is because, you were being violated. The women in your family were being violated by massa." Like, that is not a good use of history, and that is not by what I mean that's not what I mean by that. Instead, what I mean is understanding how, Societal standards have changed in when it comes to beauty and how they have shaped beauty ideals and how we can dismantle these harmful biases by taking control of the media, of these social standards, because there's a lot of things that women have done in our history to promote ourselves and to reshape the beauty ideals. Okay. An example of this would be Karine Alourd's she has 2 videos about Hilda Sims, that's one video, and Nina Mae McKinney. And then she also has another one about Naomi Sims. And these are all Black women. I think the first woman, Hilda Sims, she was either mixed or she was light skinned, I'm not sure. But the other two were considered to be dark skinned Black women. And they were living in a time and a day and age where all of them would have been considered Black. All of them would not have been considered to be white. So it's interesting watching her videos because you'll see how the Black community was not happy with any of them. The Black community was not happy with none of these girls, none of these ladies, none of these amazing women in our Black American history. Okay, so definitely check that out because I think it will shed a lot of light on what is really happening in our psychology when it comes to our understanding of colorism. Another example of educating on historical context would be my video about Tracy Walker, who was a light skinned Black woman who caused the Supreme Court to determine that race and color are not the same, and that Black people of any skin tone can experience color discrimination. Yes, the United States Supreme Court understands that a Black person of any skin tone can experience color discrimination, even at the hands of another Black person. In fact, the judge in that case refused to define light skin and dark skin and create like these basically essentially a paper bag test, basically stating that it would be irrelevant, like quantifying melanin would be irrelevant. Okay. And then yeah, we just need to make constructive dialogue as well. Like colorism channels need to center discussions around um you know open discussion and empathy, and have moderate your comment sections really heavily. Okay, make planned discussion videos and not these like free for all lives. Okay, because it seems like, and I know I'm not the only one who's seeing this, but it seems like a lot of the channels in the colorism space are centering their discussions around conflicts with other creators and comparisons, comparing this woman to this woman and that type of woman to that type of woman. Yeah, it just needs to stop. Instead, do have an intention. What is your intention? And viewers are questioning this too. Like viewers are sitting there wondering what is your intention? How is it that you're making this content for 4 years and, the viewer turnover rate is really high, and, now that there's no more centering on promotion and positivity, and there's all this centering on conflict and comparison, viewers are wondering, what is actually the intention of this particular video or this particular channel? Right? So when you create a space for an open discussion that has a heavy moderation of the comment section, that has a planned roadmap of what you're going to do, what you're going to say, what you're not going to say, what you're not going to allow someone to say, that's when you can really create that safe space for individuals who can share their experiences without fear of judgment or dismissal. Okay. Now, this doesn't mean that we all need to just like let everyone come in and just say whatever they want to say, right? Because you definitely don't want someone to take over your space or derail your space. Like I said, this channel is about light-skinned Black women's experiences primarily. But my other initiative is that we understand how to combat skin tone discrimination. And honestly, anyone who watches my videos can benefit from them, regardless of what their skin tone is. I'm just choosing to center light-skinned Black women because It's very needed, and it's, no one's really doing it except for me and, like, I don't know, 3 other ladies out here, okay? So, no one's really doing it. I think it would be really advantageous for us to come together and talk about this, and maybe we can, inspire other Black women to do the same and to stand up to colorism the same way that we are. Colorism channels definitely need to think about the intersectionality of some of the points that they're talking about or the points that they're making. I mentioned earlier that a lot of colorism channels um, use male talking points and they like center the male gaze, they center male perspectives and beauty standards. And I don't think they understand how, uh, you know, sexism and colorism intersect with each other. Yeah, I really don't think they understand that. I don't think they understand that when you're dealing with colorism in the Black community, you're also dealing with sexism. You're also dealing with classism. You're also dealing with featureism and texturism. So instead of succumbing to either one of those, so like what I'm saying is you can't play into sexism in order to be an advocate, in order to advocate against colorism, right? So a common talking point I see is saying that, the only reason why this woman is pretty or feels that she's pretty or anyone thinks that she's pretty is because she's light skinned. Or the only reason anyone thinks that this light skinned singer is successful is because she's light skinned. People have said that so many times about Mariah Carey, about Ice Spice, etc., and even about actresses. And I don't think that they understand that they're leaning into the sexism. So you're basically saying that, you know, if a woman isn't getting the isn't getting the isn't getting male attention, then that is a reflection of her worth. And if she is getting the male attention, that's also factoring into her worth. How is it that in 2024 we're not able to make a level-headed, um, observation, and listen to someone's voice and say, "Hey, you know what? She sounds good." Or, "Hey, you know what? She has some good acting." Instead of trying to connect it back to their skin tone. That's very sexist, and, I think that it's sexist because a lot of men um they do use sexual objectification and they use featureism and the way that you look as a woman to define your worth or to downplay or to upplay your talents or your flaws. Men do this all the time where they will use your weight or they'll use your skin tone or they'll use, your hair care practices or your makeup practices to discredit you or to pedestalize you above or beneath another woman. So I don't think that a lot of colorism channels see that they're playing into one ism in order to advocate against another ism. And understanding these intersections can definitely help viewers see the broader context of colorism and its impact on various aspects of life. And I think that kind of discourse will help people to take colorism more seriously. When we focus on empowerment and shift the conversation away from competition and comparison to solidarity and empowerment, we're going to encourage viewers to uplift each other and work together to challenge these societal norms. Okay, but as long as we continue to make this, kind of catty content, or we're trying to be like, oh, I don't like her because she thinks she's all that, that's not gonna go anywhere. No one hears anything that you're saying other than, "I don't like her, I don't like her, I don't like her," or "I don't like this woman, I don't like this woman." No one is hearing anything that you're saying. Okay? Educate on the legal and the social support, okay? I do this all the time. I always provide information on what our legal rights are when it comes to color discrimination. And I'm so surprised that the majority of these colorism channels aren't even talking about that. And it's literally right there. In fact, they're making talking points that go directly against what the legal rights and protections guarantee are true and there for us. Like the talking point that bullying, is bullying and it's not color discrimination. Well, the law would disagree with you, babe. The law would disagree with you. Okay. And then lastly, Why don't you share some practical advice to women for navigating colorism other than don't befriend light-skinned women, other than don't befriend dark-skinned women? You need to give us some kind of strategy for real self-advocacy, for reporting color discrimination. Like, where is all of this practical advice? Where is it? Where is it? But yeah, that's everything that I have to say. Colorism channels have a lot of power. I mean, just look at their subscriber count. They have a lot of power to influence and educate their audiences significantly. And if they were to have a supportive and educational approach, they would probably be able to help everyone, regardless of what their race was or their skin tone was, to understand colorism and the plight, Black women's plight with colorism. We would be able to better understand how we need to dismantle colorism if these channels use their power to like create a supportive platform, an educational platform, and have positive dialogue, celebratory promotion of, of Black women. That's what I do here on this channel. And a lot of people think that, oh, if you're not uplifting both sides at the same time, then you're colorist. And the reason why I disagree with that is because one, you can't love someone unless you love yourself. So I think that we as light-skinned Black women, collectively speaking, really do need to learn how to love ourselves, how to advocate for ourselves, and we need to learn that art form very freaking well. We need to learn how to speak up. We need to learn how to advocate for our rights, our civil rights. And we need to learn how to gather together and get things done because then we'll be able to do the same thing for everyone else. Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you hear what I'm saying? There is not no way that I'm ever going to, use my platform to kind of do like a kumbaya and like we should all be getting along because this is a real like thing we're talking about where people have traumas and generational traumas. Okay, so everyone is growing at their own pace. But I'll tell you this, if you've been doing the same thing over and over again for 4 years or for 10 years and there is no change, you're still having the same beef, you're still having the same, discourse, maybe, just maybe, you might need to do something different if you really actually care. And so that's kind of what I seek to do here. And that's why I made this channel so that I can empower myself and other women who look like me. And then hopefully we can empower everyone else, all other women, to do the same thing. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Oh, um, if this video isn't posted before then, I'm actually going to be going live with Shades of Resilience again tonight. Not for too long, but that should be around what is it? Uh, Shoot, 9 p.m. EST, I think. 9 p.m. EST is when we're going to be going live. So be sure to join either through my channel or her channel. We always like stream it to both of our channels anyways. So you'll have two platforms to view it from. But yeah, thank you so much for all of the support. And yeah, I hope you have an amazing day.